Welcome back, Nerd Squad. My name is Amanda McKnight, and today we are going to be counting down the top 10 supervillains with mental illness. We have recently been looking into the illnesses suffered by many superheroes, and if you watched our part 1 and 2 of the video centering around superhero issues revolving around mental health, it should not come as a surprise to you that while they definitely have it bad, many supervillains actually have it worse. A lot of what shapes a character into a hero or villain comes from their origins and how they decide to reckon with adversity they have faced in their past. Many of the characters on this list have been even more shaped by their mental illness than their counterpart heroes. As such, you may notice that many of them suffer more from their illnesses, seemingly unable to get help. Seeking help is such an important step when it comes to mental illness, and it leaves me wondering if rehabilitation could have the power to turn many of these villains into heroes. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10. Mr. Freeze. All of Mr. Freeze's origins typically revolve around the death or loss of his wife Nora, or in some instances just a random woman named Nora. It's his struggle with grief and his struggle with depression surrounding her loss that he ultimately suffers from the most. But even from a young age, Victor Freeze is often presented as struggling with depression. He was sent to a boarding school by his parents after becoming obsessed with cryogenics and freezing a cat to death. Ooh. While in boarding school, he often felt alienated from the other students and struggled with depression until he met Nora, whom he fell in love with and whom changed his world. He often fights Batman due to the fact that he is either driven to crime by his grief or using criminal activities to try and raise money for his research in order to save his wife. Number 9. The Riddler. When we are introduced to Edward Nygma in the New 52 reboot, he is seen in Arkham Asylum as a patient, sporting a green mohawk. While this is definitely not a guarantee that he suffers from any kind of mental illness, as the asylum should not be held in high regard for either diagnosis of their patients or treatment of their patients, given everything we've learned about the potential corruption of the place as presented in comics and in the video games, we have other reasons to believe that the Riddler is suffering from a mental illness. In his original origin story, he was a young boy when he became obsessed with solving a puzzle in order to win a prize at school, cheating by sneaking in at night and working on perfecting his speedy puzzle solving skills until he could do it in under a minute, and then winning the contest the next day. He was rewarded by a book of riddles, and ever since then he has become obsessed with puzzles and riddles. So obsessed, in fact, that as the villain, the Riddler, every riddle or puzzle he provides Batman with must always have a solution. Number 8. Maximus the Mad. Black Bolt's brother was driven to insanity when exposed to his brother's booming voice, considered being close enough to Black Bolt for his power to alter his brain. Maximus has always been a brilliant man and still was able to hold on to much of his wits. However, as a result of this exposure, he became delusional, started talking to himself, and as such his grip on reality has often been revealed in the comics to be, well, less than stable. His obsession also often makes him ruthless to a fault in regards to the pursuit of him becoming a leader and taking over the throne, and there is nothing he will not do in order to take that throne from his brother, whom he also blames for his mental instability. Number 7. Ozymandias. While Adrian Veidt may claim to be the smartest man alive and a very competent villain when it comes to achieving his goals, he too struggles with mental illness. Ozymandias can be classified as someone suffering from narcissistic personality disorder. He is often seen looking down on humanity, feeling himself above it all. He is an attention seeker who remains unempathetic to the plights of others, slaughtering millions of people just to be deemed a hero. Even more problematic are his feelings of self-importance. He feels that he is the only one who has the capability to save the world, as though he's the only one good enough to do it, and is obsessed with success and power, manipulating others in order to get what he wants. Thankfully, his plans are for the greater good of humanity, but ultimately they're still self-serving when it comes to what Adrian gets out of it. And what's worse is they don't really even take. His narcissism actually leads to his undoing. Number 6. Harley Quinn. In DC's film Suicide Squad, Harley's backstory is painted as someone who fell for the Joker and was willingly tortured by him to the point where she was driven insane. Often she's a character whose blind love of the Joker led to her undying devotion, and within that, her insanity. She's often stated as suffering from battered woman syndrome. This is a syndrome where a victim of abuse feels compelled to stay with their assailant despite the abuse, stuck in a dangerous cycle, wherein they do not blame their assailant for the damage done to them. In fact, we have seen Harley Quinn's character grow and develop as a more independent than codependent character as she has gone through the 4 stages of the battered woman syndrome: denial, guilt, enlightenment, and grief, leading to her realizing that she is not to blame for anything that's happening to her and feeling empowered to leave the Joker. Number 5. Typhoid Mary. Mary is a lover and villain to Daredevil. She suffers from dissociative identity disorder, which was actually seemingly activated by Daredevil, despite her possessing these different personalities from a young age, after she was abused as a child by her father. She had met Matt Murdock at the brothel where she worked, and one night Daredevil came there to track down a villain. During a scuffle, Daredevil knocked Mary out of a window, triggering her DID and causing her to vow that she would never be harmed by a man again. Her 3 personalities are Mary, who is often sweet and tempered, Typhoid, who is often violent and lustful, and Bloody Mary, who is often sadistic and brutal. While her persona as Mary has had a romantic relationship with Matt, her Typhoid persona has had a relationship with Kingpin. Number 4. The Green Goblin. One could easily classify Green Goblin as a psychopath. Norman Osborn seems to suffer, like many heroes, from DID, dissociative identity disorder. Using the term psychopath is not an actual diagnosis, by the way. Not that I possess the qualifications to diagnose anyone, not even a comic book character. Still, it should be said that being a psychopath is not an official psychological diagnosis. Many people that are classified as psychopaths or sociopaths are most likely suffering from the very real disorder of antisocial personality disorder. In Osborn's case, his psychopathic tendencies stem from a combination of his brilliance and the fact that his mind was warped by his goblin persona after he ingested the Green Goblin serum. He is unempathetic, violent, and able to mask his intentions through mimicking emotions in order to manipulate others. He also happens to be more obsessed with Spider-Man than anyone has ever been in the comics, and probably in the real world as well. Number 3. Two-Face. Either way you look at Harvey Dent's backstory, he was Gotham's young and bright DA, when he had his face disfigured as a result of having acid thrown in his face. I personally like his backstory post-crisis best. In that retelling, Harvey Dent was a victim of abuse as a young boy. His father would decide whether or not to beat him based on the flip of his lucky coin, which led to young Harvey becoming disconnected with the idea of having a reason or motivation behind one's actions, and becoming indecisive to the point that he would often make his own decisions based on the flip of a coin. He was diagnosed as bipolar with paranoid schizophrenia. After being disfigured by the accused, who threw acid on him during Harvey's cross-examination in a trial, Dent turns to a life of crime, scarring one side of his father's lucky coin and flipping it to determine whether or not he will perform criminal acts or charitable ones. Number 2. Carnage. Cletus Cassidy is an accomplished serial killer and criminally insane. He has psychotic tendencies and suffers from antisocial personality disorder. He is so focused on killing that even when he was in his inverse state and found himself with feelings of remorse for all the vile things he had done, he didn't even know how to go about his pursuit of being a hero. He was still very violent and distracted by thoughts of wanting to eviscerate those he found himself tasked with saving. He has even confessed that when it comes to his crimes and all of the murders that he has committed, that he genuinely enjoyed them, which puts him on a psychopathic level, unequivocally. Number 1. You may have guessed it, the Joker. Joker has a few different diagnoses. We obviously do not know about his past for certain, as he is a man with many backstories, and none of those have ever been confirmed by DC as being the true one and only Joker backstory. And Joker often likes to change his backstory as it suits him. One thing is for sure, he exhibits a blatant disregard for life, his own and others, putting him on a sociopathic level. In fact, I would even go so far to say that the Joker is more of a psychopath. When it comes to psychology, many people believe that the two words are actually interchangeable, but in fact they are not. A sociopath still feels emotions, but is often detached from the world. They don't feel remorse, but they often don't perceive their actions as being wrong or evil. A psychopath often knows what they are doing is wrong and does not care. They are generally more calm and organized than a sociopath. They don't really feel emotion in the same way, but are skilled at mimicking it. Psychopaths' minds are often more geared towards criminal activities as a result. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed exploring some of the minds and struggles behind our supervillains that often help to explain the why behind their criminal activities, especially for those villains who seem unmotivated. Understanding another person's psyche actually helps bring us closer to understanding ourselves. Are there any supervillains that you feel we left out? Are there any on this list that you think could be redeemed with therapy and treatment? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, on your way down to the comments, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. You know I love it when you do. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and my name is Amanda McKnight, reminding you to keep the conversation going about mental illness, and as always, to stay nerdy, YouTube.